Hi, my name is Sean Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter semi-fame. And we're both sick, so we're just going to do this anyway, I guess. And you know what, Chris, I think you sound great. I don't sound good. I'll be periodically muting my mic via software just so that Chris has to hear me coughing, but no one else will. And Chris, I'll let you direct most of the talking. But right now it feels good. It sounds terrible. So
Oh, well, that's good.
we'll try to power through. And it's been a long time since we've talked, and I actually had a free evening for the first time in ages. So I was just excited to talk to you, especially now that I'm too ill to attend a party that I was supposed to go to.
Yeah.
How you doing,
Yeah,
buddy?
I'm doing good. It's as of this recording, we are T minus, I don't feel like doing math, an hour and 44 minutes away from 22, 20 no, it's so hard to say. 2022, ringing in the new year.
And
But this is not our New Year's episode. It's just we're recording at that time.
yeah, and 2021 had to sneak one last one in for us and steal Betty White. But now it is time for 2022. I'm almost glad that she passed today instead of tomorrow because that would have been like a bad
Mm,
start.
yeah.
Chris,
Although I did see a tweet from someone who lives in Australia. They're like, "Geez, it's only 5 hours into the year, and we lost Betty White." I'm like, "Well,
oh yeah, I didn't think
mhm,
about that. Chris, do you have a nice Christmas?
uh, yeah, yeah, it's good. No, I'm doing good. Just doing more custom action figure repaints and stuff, which is really fun to do. Um, that's what's been keeping busy. Been, a little under the weather lately. We were supposed to record yesterday, and I was like, nah, we can't do that. I'm not feeling, which I was not. I can tell when I'm sick. Like, I don't even watch TV. I just curl up in a ball, and
Yeah.
like I'm just laying there,
Well,
not really doing
yesterday
anything.
I felt worse, but I sounded better yesterday. Today I
Uh,
sound worse, but I feel better. So, but I agree. When I'm sick, I don't. It's not like faking sick as a kid to stay home and watch TV. Like actual sick, I just do want to lay in bed. Yeah, I get that. But your daughter playing Yu-Gi-Oh still, I hope, still
yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
I feel vindicated.
Uh, you should. Just I'm curious, Sean. What were some of your favorite things in pop culture this year? Did we already have this conversation? Maybe not.
2022 pop culture.
Or 2021.
Oh yeah, good point. 2021 pop culture. What? Holy smokes! What
Like,
happened in 2021 pop culture?
what were your
I
favorite TV shows or movies or games or podcasts or what have you?
Let me see. Well, I just got done watching season 2 of The Witcher and season 1 of Wheel of Time, and we talked a little bit. I liked The Witcher, and I didn't quite like Wheel of Time, but I would say The Witcher 2 is good enough to hold my interest. Castlevania still rolling strong. I liked the latest season of Castlevania. Sports wise, I was excited to see Greek Freak finally win one. I don't care if he wins more than one, but I want him to win at least one. So that was
Yeah, that's
exciting
good.
for me. And then, gosh, what else pop culture wise? Movies. What movies? Is Spider Verse 2021 or is that
Yes.
2020?
No, that is like 2018, Sean.
Are you serious? Oh, Chris, we're so
Yes.
old. No way that's 2018.
I'm
Tell me it's
pretty
2019 at
certain
least.
it's I want to say it came out the same time that like Aquaman came out and the same year Black Panther came out because I believe those are like my three top movies of the year were
Oh my.
Spider-Verse, Aquaman, and Black Panther.
Oh my, I'm so far behind. So far behind the times. And then I would say my favorite video game that's actually new, quote unquote, new this year is I did buy a double pack of Star Wars Pod Episode 1 Pod Racer or Star Wars Episode 1 Racer and Republic Commando. And I purchased that. It's a combo pack, so neither of those games is new this year, but I love combo packs and that came on the Switch. And I'm a huge fan of that. Favorite movies, though? Why am I blanking on movies that came out? I never did watch Space Jam 2. That makes me really sad. Still waiting on friends to watch that with me, like the friend group.
Hmm.
Um, what movies came out? Dune. I missed Dune. Also, I missed everything that I should have watched on HBO Max. Dune just because I forgot. movies.
Yes, came out in 2018.
I feel like, oh, holy smokes. Has it really been that long? That's incredible. Okay, well, I'm drawing a total blank on movies, so I'll have to pass on that. What about you?
Okay. Some of my favorite movies. The Harder They Fall was my absolute favorite movie of the year. So it's a Western, which is weird because I don't like Westerns. But it's a black Western with like amazing black talent, and it involves people who are real. The story's not real at all, which they say that. They say the story, the beginning of the movie is saying this story is not real, but it's based off of real legends. Like, so it's based off real black cowboys and stuff from that time era. And it's just a really like snappy, upbeat revenge film. It has a great soundtrack and everything. I just loved it from the beginning to the end. Like I watched it twice, which is doesn't happen all that often because I don't have that much time. Um,
What's
and
that called? I'm
then
not familiar with that one. I feel
uh,
like you've not
the
talked to
heart.
me with that one before.
I really haven't. The harder they fall.
Okay,
So it's on Netflix.
sick.
Um, and then what else is my top? Oh, the Snyder Cut. I really love that. That was in the top. Um, Demon Slayer, Mugen Train. Saw that in theaters. That was probably one of the first movies I saw in theaters post pandemic. Yeah, that was really good. Probably one of the best anime movies ever. Spider-Man: No Way Home. I have some structural issues with that film, but the more I think about it, the more I really, really like it because I think it really solidifies. I think it's the first. It's definitely the first Spider-Man movie within this trilogy that I really, really liked or loved. The other two, I'm just like, ah, whatever. He feels so much like Iron Boy and not Spider Man. And there's just something Spider Man missing from the previous two films. I feel like this one captured a lot. Maybe that's for multiple reasons, but I don't want to spoil any of the movie for you or anyone else because there's huge major spoilers in there. But that was one of the top ones. Favorite TV shows, Ghost. I've talked about that a lot. Young Justice. Braving the Elements podcast. Been really enjoying that.
I forgot that's new
Um,
this year, isn't it? They're about, what are they,
yeah,
15
I guess it is
episodes
new
in,
this
give or
year.
take?
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
that'll
so
be
new
new
this
this
year.
year.
Okay. Yeah, love it so
Um,
far.
Fake Doctors Real Friends. I mean, that's not new this year, but they continue into this year. This I don't think was new. Actually, no, I don't think that's new. For well, could be. But they do anyway. Not important. Let's see what else was there. Let me check my list because I made a list. I have a whole Twitter thread about it that few people see because I'm not I'm very very not semi-famous on Twitter. But
You are more
let's see.
famous on YouTube than you are on
That I
Twitter.
am. I'm far more famous. Oh, The Suicide Squad. Absolutely love that movie. It captured so much for me that, yeah, it's really cool and everything. Suicide Squad, great witty stuff. Some really dumb stuff also in it, like nudity that doesn't make any sense. But I think there's a really great deeper
Mm-hmm.
meaning and story behind it. And then Attack on Titan was also really, really good. Attack on Titan really makes you. I read the manga finished up this year, and I read it all, and the manga really makes you question your morality. Like, so I think we might have talked about this before. So if you had like, say, if you had your family, right, Sean, and like your family's probably like 100 people within your family, and then there's like 10 other families, and each had 100 people in it, and for some reason all of those people hate you and your family. They hate you and your family so much because of something that one of your past family did, like your descendants did a long, long time ago, hurt other people, but also the other families were also in on it a little bit as well. But your family had like the abilities to cause and wreak a bunch of havoc and stuff. So now everyone's like, you guys are the devils of the world. We want to kill you all. But then also, all of you and your family members, you don't remember any of that. Like your memory's been wiped of it. You have no memory of it at all. And also, you're not like benefiting from this at all. Like people are are holding you ransom, are holding you hostage in a sense. But here's the moral question of it: you single person in your family, and like everyone else in the world is trying to kill everyone in your family. You could kill everybody with like a snap of your finger. and you will all be saved, or you just have to accept that your whole family's gonna die.
Do I know that I don't know? Like, am I aware that something happened that I don't remember?
You do become aware, but the thing is, that was like 1,000 years ago, and like 500 years ago, when people really started to treat you badly and like started to like treat you like less than than scum. So there's kind of equally bad stuff.
I will say that if I'm aware, even if I don't remember what it was, I would at least like pause. I wouldn't kill everybody. I would at least pause and try to figure out what happened, try to figure out what went down, and then, as what's I'll defer to like the Wonder Woman steps of justice here and just like
Yeah, yeah.
de-escalate as much as possible until something more is necessary. But then if I had to kill
Hmm.
everybody because everybody else is being unjust, like if they're all being unjust assholes, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like it. That would be my last course of action,
The
but
the show pretty much got to that point. I'm like, we've
like they're really
exhausted.
pressing
Well,
his envelope of how much he's
mhm.
willing to.
Yeah. Although, so I don't want to get too far into it, but I mean, I feel like I figured our way out of it, but it would have been one that would have everyone would have had to been really, really patient for this plan to take fold. I would have just like sent out members of my own family. So the thing is, the reason why they had to kill everyone. So it's one person in the family with the power to kill everyone in the whole world, right? And I'm just putting that blindly without really spoiling things. But if that person dies, the power just goes to someone else in the family. It just automatically goes to someone else. So that's why they're like, we got to
Interesting.
kill them all. Uh, like I would just like send out.
Would you kill everybody else in the family before you killed the one with the power? Right? Try to take them out one by
No,
one.
no, no, because then you just killed your whole family.
No, the bad guys. They're everybody else.
Oh, nah, nah. But like my plan would be like I would just send out people like men or women, like yeah, or men or women out there to go like breed with other people, but secretly, and then one day be like, hey, sure, you guys can kill us, but like if you kill me or one of us, the power might randomly end up where you're at, and this person might not be able to control it, and they might just end up killing everybody there. So let's just all live in peace. But that's a plan that would take like 100 years
That's a lot
to.
of time. You also sounded a little bit like Will Ferrell in The Other Guys when he's in denial about being a pimp. Like when you're using other language of like, I would send my family members out to breed secretly.
Yeah.
And no, that's not a pimp thing. Please don't call me Gator. That's what you sounded like. I do enjoy. You mentioned like when you find a way out of whatever the TV show is doing. Heather and I just finished up our Harry Potter, our annual rewatch that occurs between Halloween and Christmas because it's both a
Yeah.
Halloween movie and a Christmas movie. And that's listen. I love Harry Potter. Can't say it enough. I got the castles back here, right? Movies and show, but there's a lot of writing, and some of it from the books, some of it solely from the movies where it could have been solved by one person saying one thing. And like Heather's
Hmm.
favorite thing is to like whenever that thing's about to happen on screen, she'll just be like, "Hey Harry, why don't you look at this instead? Oh yeah, that helps everything. Thanks." And then
Yeah.
and it's like her favorite thing to do, and it amuses me every time how many spots in those movies that it's like,
Hmm.
"Oh yeah, that would have completely solved everything. How about that?"
Yeah. I think at least with Attack on Titan, it's like from a character perspective, I don't think just tempers were running so high that I don't think anyone would have the patience of like 100 years for
Of being
a
a
plan
hundred
to
year
take
pimp.
place. Yeah. Definitely. Other things I love Life season two with Chidi from The Good Place. That's on HBO Max. Really enjoy that, and it's like a kind of a rom romance drama sort of
Huh.
type of deal. That's usually not my thing, but I really loved it. But that's mostly some of my top things.
I'm glad you mentioned movies. I didn't love Snyder Cut, but I liked it more than the original. I'll give it
Yeah.
that relative thumbs up. I watched Encanto
Yes.
like
Oh,
two or
yes. That
three
was one
days
of my
ago.
top things.
Yeah, I didn't. Again, I didn't love it, but I really liked it. It was a really good movie. So that's high up
I
there.
liked it. I liked it the first time, and I love it more. But I've watched it 2.5 times now because my daughter loves it. We watched it last night, and we don't talk about Bruno. It's like I love that song, but starting to annoy me because it's stuck in my head.
I think I'm just getting. We've talked about this a little bit before too, where I'm just kind of getting tired of that style. So it's not necessarily that movie's fault, but that
Yeah.
artistic style and some of the music
Well,
feeling
you must
really
be tired. Just Lin Manuel Miranda. It's that's him.
okay, interesting. But no, still a really good movie, and so that would finish pretty high up in my list as well. And you'll hear some silences now and then as we talk, as we try to mute ourselves to cough, and then other times we won't do it and we apologize. Chris, that being said, very exciting, starting off the new year by jumping into a new book, and that is
Yes.
after book four. What is book four? I didn't put the title in there. I always put the title in there. Book
Book
four.
four is why can't I remember? I want to say no, it's not balance. Wait,
Is it
it might be
balance?
balance.
Yeah, last one was change. This one's balance.
Yes, it's balance.
Yeah, so book four, change, chapter one. After all these years, after all this time, we are excited to
You
jump
know,
into
between all the
book
books,
four.
I know we haven't talked about this yet, but I don't like the title of book one and book two. Like, to me, the titles of book three and four are like really good because they really reflect on Korra's growth and her arc. And then the other ones are just like, this is what the story's about. Which I know that book one is like you just go in the same order that the original books went in, and that's cool. And book two just like spirits. Like
Chris,
book two,
oh, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
no, I was like, I don't know what I would rename book two. I mean, I know I can think of something. Uh, Probably spirituality more than spirits. Spirits just sound too concrete,
Yeah.
but spirituality, uh, probably spirituality.
I I don't know that I like spirituality, but I agree that spirits in itself sounds too what did you say, concrete or too sort of simple. Like it's not just
Yeah.
about the spirits. Um, I agree. It could use a different name. And then one bugs me the most just because it feels like the outlier to
Oh, it's
me
definitely the
personally.
outlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so one bugs me the
Yes.
worst.
That's understandable.
Someday we'll rank all seven books based on how appropriate their name is for their book. It'll be great.
I mean, I would probably put book four as the first one. That's the best. Well, I mean, because the other one, the original series,
No,
it's
those are
hard
all
to
three
argue.
perfect. Those are perfect.
Like, yeah, like water, earth, air. Like that's that's one thing where the location is, well,
It's
because
sort of a foundation. Yeah, I get
I mean
why.
it's
It's not
so
perfect.
that one's so let me rephrase it. Those are actually really good titles, I think, because those reflect what Aang was learning. He was learning water, he was learning earth, and he was learning fire. So that's cool. Korra wasn't really learning air.
Other
It didn't
people
feel like
were,
she
but not.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, she was learning air, but it was kind of like she wasn't doing it until the exact end of it. And her it wasn't like her airbending at the end there was a reflection of her growth in airbending. It was just she was at her lowest point and was able to airbend. Or it was
Book
more so out of necessity, but I don't know.
Korra Book One would rank seven in naming conventions for me, but then
That's
also
fine.
relatively going to cut it some slack because, like, do other TV shows name their seasons?
That is true. They don't.
There's like not a good standard. I'm sure somebody does, but there's not a good standard for it. So you know what?
Yeah.
Bravo on doing something different with the
It's
books
another
and the
thing I should
naming
know.
conventions.
I want to make a video about how revolutionary the Legend of Korra TV series really is, like on multiple different standards. And I wonder were any other uh TV shows really naming their seasons.
I don't pay
I don't.
attention to that stuff well enough that I have no idea. It's like surely there's something out there, but gosh, maybe not. I don't know.
I really don't.
I bet some of them have like
Hmm.
subtitles, but they're probably
Yeah,
not
but
as
then again,
cool as
well,
these.
yeah, but then again, Avatar was doing that before, so it wouldn't be Legend of Korra. But anyway,
Anyway,
let's get
Chris,
into the episode.
I just realized I just realized I never put our ratings into the PowerPoint. Hey,
Nice, good
that's
job.
okay.
That's okay.
You're gonna read your ratings, and I'll read my ratings, and then we'll do some quick math, and it'll be great.
Cool.
I'll probably use my
I
calculator
thought you were gonna
on
say,
my
I just
phone.
realized I haven't been recording.
No, but you made me nervous there for a second. Nope. So we'll skip the usual rating pages, and we'll just rattle them off, and it'll be great. Let's get to the review.
Okay, so we start off with we start off with like a update on the from the announcer guy. He's like just filling us in on everything after all this year. Like he tells us, like it's been 3 years since Avatar Korra falls here, whatever, whatever. And now we got these spirit lines. One thing that was from her the time with book two, and how it's an attraction. How Cora's been missing. Well, she's been inactive for 3 years, and how they wish her a speedy recovery. She has her own park named after her. Screw that president guy. Like, geez, he probably was just like, if I do this, would my polling numbers increase? I
Yeah,
hate that
that
guy.
sounds right.
Yeah, and then we find out that Asami's been doing a lot of infrastructure work. Like, she's pretty much made the city, which is really cool, especially for Asami. Um, One thing when I first watched this episode, it was kind of weird because usually, usually you go like at least a couple of months in between seasons, and this came out. Nickelodeon just like just 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 put it all out there. Like it was a weird transition. We went from having I think season three, we went from having episodes on Nickelodeon in Nick.com to just having Nick.com. And then we're all like, oh, when will it get picked up for season four? And it was like, here's season four, right? Like it was just it started a week after season three ended.
Was it
And
weekly
so
or did they dump it all out at once?
no, it was weekly.
Still weekly? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Uh, and so it was really weird to time skip 3 years when it was just a week ago. You really don't. At that
Actually,
time you
and
didn't have that.
I do vaguely remember too. I think this is the only one that I watched in real time. Maybe not the whole thing, but the last few weeks at least. I watched
Yeah.
them as they came out. I do recall that now.
Yeah. Uh so then we see Kuvira uh, looking all menacing in her thing with Bolin and Varric and Julie and Batar Jr. congratulating her on getting another region to join the rejoin Earth Empire. I want to call it an Earth Empire, not Earth Kingdom, Earth Empire. And Kuvira, you can already tell she's very driven because gosh, what's his name? Anyway, Eric is like, let's drink tea to celebrate. She's like, no, I'll drink tea when I unite the entire Earth Kingdom under one rule. Well, maybe she didn't say it like that. And so you can tell how driven
But
she
it
is.
is real. Whatever she says is already like, is threatening too strong of a word, or is that the appropriate? It's a very threatening, however she says
No,
it.
I don't think
Very.
threatening.
It's
I don't
driven
think
isn't
she's.
big enough. It needs like somewhere between
You're
driven and
right.
threatening,
Something
but it's
between.
very clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Ominous?
Obsessed,
Obsessed? Okay. They're obsessive.
obsessively.
I think obsessive
Uh,
is good.
okay. Yeah.
But it's somewhere in
Uh,
between there. Like you're watching this unfold and you're already like getting some
like she's
vibes.
the bad guy.
Yeah.
Also, the previous season, they made it a point to emphasize Kuvira at least three times, where just like she's gonna play a role. And they did close-ups on her. It's like, okay,
No
I'll pay
random
attention to
henchman
this.
that happens to have a name.
Yeah, uh, that's probably some of their. I would say lazy writing. It's just like she wasn't needed for she wasn't needed in book three, and so yeah, just say her name and just it's not lazy. I'm not gonna call it lazy writing because it's like you just did more than you needed to do. Um, but it's just like yeah, we noticed you doing something.
Maybe
We can peer
slightly
behind.
superficial groundwork being
Yeah,
laid there. Heavy handed.
funny enough, I'm glad I was wrong in this, but I remember when she did the whole like because Conrock, where's dad, was like, "Thank you, Lieutenant," and then she's like, "Please call me Kuvira." Like in my head because I'm a because I'm an adult. I went to like the worst thing possible, and that was him cheating on his wife with Kuvira. And
You've
I'm
been
like,
watching HBO way too much.
yeah, no, I'm so glad that TV shows happen. That kids TV shows don't cross those lines, and that's when I start to hate characters. Like, and don't look up a person cheats on their wife, and I'm just like, I don't feel like watching some.
No, I'm actually. It's funny. We have pretty different taste in TV shows than a lot of other places. That's always a huge downfall with it was like where a show that doesn't feel like it needs it, or I don't really suspect it going that direction, and then something like that happens. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah, like I literally paused the movie. I was like, I don't feel like finishing it right now, and then I started back up. And then later you find out that the wife also cheated on him like years or years ago, and I'm like, okay, I feel a little bit better about
Oh, I
this
was gonna
for some
say I
reason.
can't tell if that means you're gonna shut it off entirely that time, or if that like levels the playing field
Yeah,
for you.
infidelity is fine if both. No, that's
It's
not fine.
remember what
A
you learned in
negative, a
ATLP,
negative,
kids.
a negative times a negative is a positive, Sean. Although
Two
I've been recently
two
wondering to
wrongs
myself why that
to
is
make
the
a right.
case. Like, why is it that a negative times another negative equals a positive? I don't like. Well, I remember asking my teachers, and they're like, "Just accept it. That's just the way it is."
Why would a negative times another negative be a positive? I
Right?
don't
Because
know.
think
I
about it,
don't know.
right. So if I did three
Positive and a
times three,
positive make a positive, but then a negative and a negative also equal a positive. That feels unfair. That does feel unfair to me.
like if I had three times three, there's well, just say two times two. I got a two, another two. Just add those two together. It's two twos. I got a negative two and a negative two. Even if I minus those. Oh wait a minute. Wait, I guess that's the case. Well, no, I'm still not. Why would I minus them? What, like, what's the? Why do I have to minus them? Negative two
So
and negative two. That'll make negative four.
I wonder. I'm sitting here thinking the negative times a positive does kind of make sense to me that it keeps going negative, right? It's like I have negative three of something, and so
Yes,
I take it times positive three. Well, it's you're multiplying a negative. Like there's three negative threes now. That kind of makes
yes,
sense.
yes.
But why is a negative times a negative a positive?
I watched a YouTube video recently on why you can't divide by zero, and then it ended up making sense at the end. Of just like, listen, you can't do it. Like, like the ramifications of dividing by zero is catastrophic.
You just created a
Like,
black hole,
if you can divide by zero, then two equals one, and then once that happens,
and you've just dropped us all into a singularity with your stupid reckless math.
these are stupid things that I look at. Well, not stupid things, but
That's awesome. They're incredibly deep and incredibly stupid all at the same time.
yeah. Anyway, sorry guys.
I have no idea what we were
Random.
talking about.
We're talking about Kuvira cheating on being a
Oh,
floozy with
cheater, yeah.
Tonrock
Got it.
in this dark timeline that I came up with before season four started.
Don't
So
you
I'd much
dare
rather
roll
have
that
her be
dice,
the
Chris. You'll create all the
yeah.
timelines.
Anyway, the bandits didn't stop the train. Kuvira take them out like real quick. Like she's like, nah, I'll handle them myself. And then I love the way she bends, like she's so cool with it. And then she like she traps them all with like metal bands, and then kind of magnetizes them all together. Just completely owns them all. And then she gives this like this is threatening level right here, where she has them magnetized to the train track, and she's like, and she delivers a pretty. It's not one of the best monologues because it's not like super threatening. She's like, hey, cheer up. Like, this is not the worst day of your life. This is your best day. This is the best day of your life. I'm giving you an opportunity to turn your life around, to do some good for your country. And then they all like, we bow to you, the great uniter. Which one thing I love that title of for her. Like, not many characters have like a side name or nickname, but the Great Uniter is a great nickname. Like if she was in a fighting ring, like, And welcome, Kuvira, the Great Uniter.
You know
Because it's such a oxymoron, sort of, because she's not uniting people, but she will claim that.
what it it didn't bug me, but I was thinking it would have been cool if they just hailed her as like the uniter, and then at some point later down the road, as part of like her regression into insanity, she started referring to
Oh, okay.
herself as the Great Uniter. Just a small thing I
Interesting.
thought would have been kind of interesting, but I like the title regardless.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
cool title.
Just then she goes, the Great Conqueror, and then it's just.
Yeah, absolutely. Just very, very obvious regression.
Although I wonder, now that I think about it, I wonder did they purposely tie this with like as Alexander the Great? I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to make that comparison. But
I would believe it. I don't know.
yeah. Anywho, okay, so Kuvira takes them out. Prince Wu gets introduced, and he's immediately annoying to me. I know he's like the comic relief,
But he's
but
not
he
that
he.
funny.
So this is probably the worst part of book four, but I get it.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I
You
get
need that person in the absence of a regular Bolin, and the like. Not the absence, but it's not the same Bolin, I guess.
Yeah,
And you
I
need
get
something in
it.
there.
I get it in the sense of the story that you pin him up against Cuvier. Like these are your two options for the Earth Kingdom. Like you as an audience sort of makes the choice. I'm like, all right, well, who's right? Who's wrong?
And at first you're like, well, maybe Kabir is not so bad.
Yeah. Um, I will probably still hold out that Kuvira was right up until a certain point.
for
I will
right
make
several episodes.
like I'm like she got good points.
I
Like and
think
I don't know.
I think we both have a similar point in mind of where you're finally like, all right, that's too strong.
Yeah,
That's too strong.
like that's you didn't even like that place was cool. You did that place did not need order.
Yeah,
You were fine. You just got cocky.
yeah.
But
I think we're thinking of the same place. We'll revisit that
uh,
when that episode comes of like the shift point of all right, now I'm voting for this for Prince Wu.
yeah. Let's see. Well, oh, so Mako is tasked with guarding Wu, and we already kind of get this hint of like Kuvira supporters. They throw pie at him, uh, and you kind of get this also this political, a little bit of political intrigue of just like propaganda, a little bit of stuff like that. Uh, but and Mako hates his job because he's guarding Prince Wu, who is just self-absorbed, and oh, he also hits on Asami, which is
Annoying.
uh yeah, annoying. Uh oh wait, is this the episode? Yeah, okay. Other part of the episode. So Bolin, so Opal and Kai goes to this small Earth Kingdom village,
Oh yeah, that is in this episode,
and
isn't it? Wait a minute. Are
yeah,
you
and they
sure?
need. I'm absolutely sure because Korra alone is just Korra.
Yeah, you're right.
uh, so they go there to this village, and this village like needs help and stuff. Bandits are because there's so many bandits from Zahir, just causing so much chaos in the Earth Kingdom that this village needs help. And they're like, yeah, we're trying to. And then Quivira's and Bolin comes there, and at first it's all happy union between Bolin and Opal. But then Quivira's like, I can't help them out because they won't agree to my terms. And it's like, is that really help? Like, if you're only able, if you're only willing to help them because they agree to something, like you're not being altruistic.
I
Like
mean,
that completely.
I'm pro compromise, but it's not compromise. Like there is no choice.
Yeah, so it's an interesting right because it's an interesting dilemma because the airbending mentality is just like help people no matter what. Like get nothing in return, just help them. That's the airbending mentality. But like countries aren't really run like that. like like even the United States, like as much as like we are. yeah, we have socialistic things, right? Like the thing that pays for the cops are taxes, which are taken from us. Things that pay for schools are taxes, which gets taken from us. Like taxes is our way of feeding the government for the government to do things for us. Like it's not a free, they feed one another. It's not just a give and take situation. And to me, that's what Kuvira is really only asking for that. It's like you must pledge allegiance to me and I will guard you and give you resources and everything, but you have to pledge allegiance to me. Honestly, I don't think he's asking for that much, but
I would agree, and I think the implications of the like swearing fealty or whatever they call it are probably much worse than it sounds at face value. Like, oh yeah, we can
hmm,
do that in exchange for food and stuff. That's fine.
that is true. Yeah, I'm sure she will charge some type of tax. Probably will make sure that like at least some portion of them can support her army, and yeah, that's probably. I mean, the thing is, the guy was like, "Oh, I know you want the ore in the city." Like, I don't think Bouvier was even worried about the resources of that town because it doesn't really play a factor at all
In
later.
her
I'm sure she'll take
decision.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just like, I just want this because it's a part of the Earth Kingdom.
But there's
I'm not.
there's still an implication of like I want this now because part of the Earth Kingdom, but later because you are loyal to me, yeah,
Yeah,
I will become
yeah,
interested in your horror. But
yeah.
uh,
Sure, I'll take it, but that's not the
yeah,
reason
like
why I'm
well,
doing
you're part of us now. It's what's yours is ours.
it. Yeah. Kai and Opal try to get stuff from the other villages around it to help them out, and they get just enough to help out. But then they get ran off by bandits and airplanes, which is a pretty decent fight. Um, Kai's glider gets torn up, and Opal saves them. And I like the airbenders as superheroes. I like anytime you introduce any type of superhero aspect into something non superhero-y. So that's really cool. But it is the same bandits that. So this part, Kuvira isn't being cool because she could, if she was really, yeah, she purposely used those bandits to sabotage the airbenders from giving them. And it's not like clear cut, but if you look at the bandit, it's the same bandit. One of them is the same bandits from when Kuvira caught them in the beginning of the episode.
Oh, I gotta be honest, Chris. I don't think I ever noticed that.
Yeah, so that's definitely
Little sketch,
shady. Yeah,
questionable.
because Kuvira was like, "You can be of use to me," and that's how she used them.
Never noticed that before, but I don't notice a lot of things, and that's why you're here.
So they can't get the stuff for him. So then the head chief guy has to agree to Kuvira's terms. And Opal's mad at Berlin, and that's where that story kind of ends. And then we get to see Korra fighting in the cage, and that's all we see. She gets her butt whooped, and her hair is cut.
And yeah, I guess it's like a minute of just of whooping, and that's about it. So I'm not going to go to the ratings because I don't want to cause confusion. We'll just go ad hoc. I had to put mine in the calculator because I'm bad at math.
Oh, it's okay.
You go ahead and go first if you like.
Okay. What are my wait a minute? Let me go to. No, I don't remember them. I'll just
I knew
have
I
to
was
look
forgetting to do
in.
something. Well, I'll give mine while you look for yours because I've got mine here. Audiovisual. This is it's primarily Earth Kingdom, kind of dusty, dirty. I mean, music and artistic design, everything is great as always, but it's not my favorite. I'll say 8. It's nice to see lots of different characters all at once, but it's not my favorite setting. None of the music stands out specifically, so 8 is fine. Story, I generally like the big time jump and the way that they wrapped up what's been going on in that time jump. It's not super exposition heavy, like they do a nice job of weaving it in. It's still expositiony, but they do a nice job of weaving it in kind of an organic way that I appreciate. So I'll go 8 on the story as well. Again, nothing too exciting, but did a nice job. Memorable. I couldn't pick this episode out of a haystack, so I'll say 7. I
Hmm.
generally remember seeing Korra at the end and being relatively surprised. But there's maybe other than Kuvira throwing the metal bracelets at people like handcuffs, that's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
nothing sticks out. So I got 887, and that brought me to a 7.7.
All right. Story, I gave an eight. Um, agree with a lot of what you said. It's kind of just good to level set and cool to get these 3 years later where all these characters have been, how much they've changed, and um, what their motivations are and their influences are. We get introduced to Kuvira as an antagonist, and that's pretty cool and great. Uh, that's pretty much it with the story. With audio visual, we have a 7.5. Pretty cool fight scene with Kuvira. Seeing Korra fight, that was kind of interesting. And the mid-air fighting sequence was cool as well. And for memorable, just gave it a 7. It's not that memorable of an episode, and also there's no Korra really in this episode, which just like previous episodes in the last series, where there was an episode without Zuko, it just felt off. Like that's how important these two characters are, and yeah. So yeah, that's how I don't know where that goes up to.
It's going to be really close to
Probably
mine because of the weight
it
you
should
have on
be.
story. I bet yours is
Yeah,
7.6 is my best guess. I'm going to say that we average out to a
probably.
7.677, and I will do those numbers for real in the spreadsheet. But yeah, overall, that seems like a good place for this episode as far as introductory episodes go. After a 3 year absence, it's not special, but it kind of does what it needs to, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fine introductory episode. Like it's hard to compare it to the. It's funny because yeah, the previous episode was also the previous season's first episode was also a introductory episode. But that one to me has so much good stuff going on for it. To me, that was the best first episode of any
Yeah,
of
that
the
one's so much
seasons.
like so much
It grabs you, I think.
bigger in a way. It feels
Yeah,
bigger. This feels political. That one felt big
yeah. Like things were really changing, which is why it's called change.
immediately. Yeah. Hey, that's why it's going to rank really high in our rankings of book names. Yeah, so yeah, don't let it put you off. Again, that's still at,
Holy crap.
7.6, 7.7. It's no slouch. But as you watch through this season, it's I don't think it's going to
Yeah.
stand in anybody's like top
I'm
episodes
probably
or
really
anything.
up and down with this season if I had to guess until the end because the end usually is the top tier episode.
I think
But
mine will probably go a very steady climb up because it feels like towards the end there's more of the things that I like and less of the stuff like about
yeah,
this episode that I don't. The sort of early moral
well,
dilemmas when there's a lot more gray area or political discussion or whatever. Um,
yeah. Well, there's the episode Remembrance, which probably takes it and then goes.
you know what? I don't think we need. I think when we grade that,
It's such an outlier
I think
in
when
so
we grade
many.
that, we're
Uh,
not allowed to be soft on it, but just knowing the context, still, like we're
yes,
not gonna hold it
and
against it. So I
yeah,
get it.
and the creators know. Like they purposely came out with a statement like 30 minutes after the
Yeah.
episode aired. It was like, hey, we don't like this episode either. Like I've never seen someone just release something, a creator just be like, I do not like this.
We will rate it as if we didn't know that, right? Because it is an episode. We're watching it and we're gonna rate it that way. But like we
Yeah.
all know why, and that so it gets a pass. That's fine. Our ratings will all be asterisks. And oh, hey, Chris, it's so exciting to get started on book 4, which is Balance, chapter 1. After all these years, it's funny that the title's after all these years, but it was really just a week later in actual. That's kind of fun irony there. We will be back next week. I think we're gonna try to record again because I don't know I feel okay even though I sound horrible. So we're not sick for multiple weeks. We're not sick in late January still, or at least I hope not. But we'll be back next week with a regular recording as we start to work our way through book 2. Happy New Year. I hope that if you make a resolution that it's something that you can actually stick to. And my theory on resolutions is if you're going to make a resolution, it needs to be something you can do for the rest of your life, like a lifestyle improvement or whatever. But hey, good luck with your resolutions. I hope your new year gets off to a great start. And thanks for watching.